Hard times build character.
This isn't just a show, this is real life. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
You gotta see it before anyone else can see it.
Every second, every minute, every day.
We train for life. We got you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Relentless Way podcast. Season number 3, episode number 11. Effort is everything. Paul ALVEAR here with my longtime friend and business partner, Matt STROUT. And we have another Matt in studio today, another one of our we've all probably been friends just the same amount of time, you know? I think for me personally, both these guys came into my life around 7th, 8th grade or so, right? So
freshman.
Yeah. And I was a year behind you, so I was in 8th grade when I met you playing baseball. But this is Matthew Guiliano of EXP Realty, and just he's been part of our Relentless family and our family for years. So thanks for joining us today, Matt, and coming on the podcast.
Definitely, thank you guys for having me. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we've like you said, we've been friends for a long time. I've seen Relentless go from the conversation to Pain in the Pines to the first brick and mortar to where we're at today. I've seen the whole movement. And I'm just excited to finally be able to, come around, talk. We don't get to see each other as often because we're all quite busy. But every time we get together, it always leaves me wanting that more. So sure. Definitely excited to be here today. Talk about effort in life and in everything, and a little bit of real estate, and catch up with you guys.
And of course, we're going to start off, and Matt's going to kind of highlight and let us know where he's at now. For those of you that don't know him, I know some of the listeners may know him, maybe friends, maybe family. But we're going to start off with a little bit of that, but we're also going to get back into the story of, from the beginnings, especially from when we've known each other and from when his journey has began. And effort is a huge thing. And we picked this word inside the title because when Matt STROUT and I were talking about it, that's one thing that when we think of Matt G. That's how I'm going to refer to them. Matt G. Matt STROUT, Matt G. When we think of Matt G here, it's effort, right? Everything that he does, he puts full 100% effort into, whether it's family, whether it's relationships, whether it's work, whatever it may be, it's full 100% effort. And that being said, the EXP on your shirt stands out nice and strong, and you're building a beautiful thing there, and you've put a lot of effort into that over the last couple of years or so. So kind of bring us up to speed where you're at right now.
No, definitely. So I've been with EXP this past October was 2 years full-time. I'm in my 3rd year full-time with them doing residential. It was, I was with another brokerage when I first started out, which was a learning experience to, go through some self-awareness periods of what I'm really good at, what I'm not, what my brokerage provides me, how I'm able to take advantage of it or not. And I don't need forever to figure that out.
Right.
So after a little bit of a short period of time, I'm very lucky. A friend of mine from high school that was a loosely connected friend, Michelangelo Amatia, my mentor and sponsor. He was on me about EXP before I'd ever heard of it, and the right way consistently. And he caught me on the week when it mattered most, and it was the same conversation that had always been with him about it. And it was a numbers thing for me personally. It was the model and the numbers, and it was time. It was the time I was going to get back. So for me, the move just really seemed and felt right. And I didn't really have a business. I didn't have a book of business. It was weird that he was so quote unquote recruiting me. But I didn't really have much of anything yet. But he believed in me, and he saw my potential, and he would hear about my my thoughts on real estate and working with people and how I wanted to do it, and my vision for things. And it was just an abundance of support. And so I made the jump. I actually took another position at the time to work full time and work with EXP, because EXP's model really does allow people to, not just be locked into a real estate office from 9 to 5 and or about doing their daily activities. I have a lot of agents, that are dual career. They do something else. Some of them try to sell 5 homes a year, maybe 10 homes a year. It doesn't matter, you know. It can be whatever, you know, suits your situation. Right. So for me at the time, it was you know, it was very suitable by the numbers. You know, EXP offers, you know, competitive splits. We have a revenue share program with your downline of agents that you bring into the company. That is a really beautiful setup.
When you talk about numbers, real quick, you talk about splits and financial and all that, but you also touch on a little bit of time like numbers, meaning like the amount of time that you have, that the diversity of your, you know, you have a beautiful family, right, of 5 girls and Kayla, your wife, and it's a unbelievable thing. That's one thing I've recognized is the time that you're able to, like you said, get back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, with EXP, every agent is an owner in the company. You know, you don't really, so to say, answer to anyone but yourself. You run your business your way. So, you know, your schedule, you are able to set it amongst that. And with my lifestyle, with, you know, 5 daughters, like you said, and Kayla, you know, and, you know, a bigger extended family outside of even just that. You know, my core group of people is, you know, I roll deep all the time. You know, I'm responsible and to be in touch with a lot of people. So you know, it matters to me that I'm not locked in a cubicle or at a desk for 8 hours, you know, 40 hours a week, and not really being able to be there for people. So that, you know, it allows me that freedom to wake up at 4 a.m. and do my work until 8 a.m. and then, you know, make breakfast for my kids and get them on the bus and then go put back in work until noon and then go, you know, do my thing. So, you know, it's that flexibility is nice. It's a balance stuff, right? It could be unnice as well. So that, you know, but EXP allows you to find that in yourself. And it's just about self-awareness, and they're not breathing down your neck to, you know, figure it out or not. The support is there. And I love that we have all the support in the world, but if you don't click or you don't pick up the phone, you don't connect, then you're not going to grow or you're not going to, you know, improve. So
what allows them to do that? EXP has, what allows them in that model to be able to, is it because of the numbers and the amount of people on the team? Like because of the, it's, when I look at anyone that you bring on, it's unbelievable. Like even like we talk about Frankie and Maria Lauren, like they're all, it's everyone's family people. Everyone does have that diversity to them. And when I see who you bring on, especially through your channel, it's like, wow, like that fits the mold. Sense, you know what I mean?
It's the cost. It's the cost to hold your real estate license with EXP. And what their services are, like even if you don't want to be very active in it or you don't want to join 3 different MLSs and cover the state or do this, you just want to have your license available. You may sell 1 or 2 homes for some friends or family in a year, you may do a referral. We're a beautiful place in the world to not have to pay a lot but receive all the same amount of support, resources, technology that you do at other brokerages, and the cost difference is significant. You know, I don't really put myself out there too much on the recruiting end of agents. Almost every agent in my downline is connected with me again, just through some personal relationship level. Of course, because, you know, I want people to find it on their own, like I did through someone who, you know, cared about you without knowing they cared about you, like Michelangelo did for me. He heard what I was going through, and he was following up with me because he wanted me to come there and he believed in what I could do. But he showed, you know, he cared. I saw his effort in his care.
I was gonna say he wasn't looking at you as just a number or just like something to add on to the back tail end of him. He was looking at someone he believed in, and I think that's why that conversation was able to stay the same every time he called you, because he knew what you stood for.
And that's how I think I just learned how to look at it when I do it. So, you know, with that approach, you know, it's been really fun to see, you know, people grow. Maria Lauren sold over $2 million last year. Frank sold over $1 million in real estate last year. Between the other agents, over $1 million, in, you know, collectively between their sales as well. And these are people, out of those 4 people I'm referencing, they don't know anything about real estate prior to that. They never did anything. See, I was a little different. I had a commercial real estate background. I knew lingo, I knew terms, I understood things. They come in completely green, with kids, with jobs, with school, with, you know, the life load that comes in general on top of all those things. And they still found out a way to do something that I did that I was better prepared for than them.
Because they didn't have to do it at this level right away because of the diversity that EXP brings.
Exactly.
And obviously at the core of it all, with all those people you mentioned, you know, most of them me knowing directly his effort, right? And his work ethic, and his just people that share that core commonality. So to go back to humble beginnings a little bit, this is what we really like to do, is bring people through the whole journey. So thanks for sharing where you're at now. Touching on your life, your lifestyle, your family, and what kind of makes you put that effort in every day. Let's go back to stocking the shelves at Eckerd. So where it all started, and just because I know that, and actually it's funny because I always bring up Bellaterra when I talk about my beginnings, but Eckerd is actually somewhere where I started for a couple weeks, which we all have that part of our journey, depending on timing in life. But how were you a freshman in high school?
I was a sophomore.
Cool.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, and it was right up the street from my house. I could walk to it, so it was like it made sense as a first job. And it was funny because I think me and Kayla had applied for the job at the same time, and I got it. I don't think that she did.
And they were together too.
Yeah,
They've been
remember Bill?
Bill. Wow, Bill.
Bill was a really big fan of.
Okay.
He was. I don't think he liked Kayla as much as me. I know.
It's all right, Kayla. I'm in your boat too. I was there too.
So, yeah, that's kind of like where it all started. With
you guys have been together since then?
Yeah.
You guys oh my God, that's beautiful.
We started dating on her 15th birthday.
So
this will be 10 years married.
That was her freshman year, right?
Yeah, her freshman year, my sophomore.
Oh yeah, because you were 1 year older than us?
A grade older. I'm your age.
So it was the tail end. She's March, right? It's the tail end of freshman year. Unbelievable. It's a beautiful thing. So he's in Eckerd. He gets hired there, and what was your journey there?
It was cool. I mean, you learned, customer service. I learned, some basic management stuff. I had the classic tough manager. I saw there that I responded well to tough managers. I learned that early on. Like Bill took a liking to me because I kept my mouth shut. I did my job. Right. I was on time, and I didn't make waves. And I learned that about myself at an early age, at 16, that I can fall in line pretty quickly. Like this shouldn't be a big deal. This job, and it wasn't. And it was a good thing. At a young age, I was working quite a bit. I mean, I think now that since that age, I probably never worked less than 30, 35 hours a week. Ever since that time. It's I've been going since, so
kids listen, parents listen, right? Listening right now, seriously.
I was gonna say, we remember when we think of Matt too. We remember back in the day as being one of the guys who had some of the earliest work ethic that we knew. Yeah. Like he's one of the guys who had a job early. It was just part of his life. He was always involved doing different things and always being there. But at the same time, he always had work. So that's definitely when we talk about the title effort. Again, we've said this, but I'll highlight it myself. When you think of Matt, you think of effort in all of those ways. So going all the way back to the beginning of times, and that's why we like to do this, is kind of bring it up and paint the picture of the journey of us always remembering and understanding how foundation is so important. And these little lessons, we talk about them all the time, of starting at Eckerd and now working, you still do a lot of those same things. Like those little things still apply. Right. And we try to remind everybody that little things add up to big things always, So that's something that we'll obviously compound off of, but I'm positive that through every journey piece that he highlights right now, there's going to be moments that every bit of each lesson will carry over into where he is today. So we'll go
over and over again.
For the next
you were with them for a good period of time. I forget? Did you end up stepping in any like management position there at Eckerd, or was not until you went to Commerce TD, right?
No, yeah, but it was great because I met someone at Eckerd that was the relationship that got me the interview, that got me the job at Commerce, which then TD.
Connecting it together.
Yeah, so had I not I've enjoyed my time at Eckerd. I might not have made the relationship that I did with the person that connected me to to the interview again there, and just getting me the door. A lot of what you'll hear is there's always been a person there that I connected with that helped open a door for me. I don't open doors for myself now. I open doors for my clients. I've never really opened a door for myself. So that was the first. That's why it was so important.
But also / who he is as a person, and him just always being true to himself and following through on his word has allowed people to appreciate and respect the relationship, which allowed the doors to be open. So I'll say that for him, but that's basically the way that goes. And we try to remind, especially the young generation that we work with day in and day out, to not lose sight of the little things of just being a good person and following through. And your word is everything. And being able to interact and have good conversation with people, because you never know, right? Like, it's not always like what's in it for me, but just being a good person and putting good energy out. You never know where that relationship could bring you. So
and
it's a beautiful point.
And I'll never forget through our high school years. Again, he was a grade ahead of us, but we just spent so much time together. But so soon after he made this transition, the door was open, a connection was made, and he was working at, which to us was like a bank. Like, you know what I mean? It was like inside. Oh, Matt's working inside a bank. You know,
it was cool. I was playing with stacks of money in the ball, like literally. Like it was a really cool job. It was an amazing experience. Like I said, it started as commerce, and then I was actually there for the transition to TD. I started out as like a part-time teller. I ultimately was a head teller of the Middletown branch on 35. And prior to that, I helped roll over the Howell branch from like commerce to TD.
So you got to see all that.
Like me and my managers had to stay like pretty much all weekend and like be there for like the integration. I mean, this was TD. It was a massive international rollout of a banking subsidiary. And it was just such a cool experience at 18 years old.
I was just gonna say, remember, he's a junior, senior in high school. When some kids don't even start working until they get out of college.
It was funny when they offered me the salary position. It's salary, it's benefits. At the time, it was like $35,000 a year, and it was for an 18-year-old kid. And so the first thing I remember,
he was taking us out a lot.
The first thing I remember when they called and told me was, they told me, and I was really appreciative of it. And I said, I knew the responsibility though. So I was like, listen, I got to talk to my parents, and she lost it. Like she started, because she was a mother herself, and Nicole was just like, I kind of knew you were gonna say that. She's like, so I'm prepared to say. No, she's like, so I'm prepared to say professionally. Of course, no problem, because I recognize you turned 18 like 3 months ago.
Crazy, man.
So respect that she could acknowledge that you could handle those responsibilities and still knowing that you had to go up to the top for confirmation.
And that was an experience. I walked onto a team of 11, of which I was the youngest.
Crazy.
So I was the youngest, and they were all older than me.
And you were the leader.
Some 2-3 years older than me, some 10, some 20 older than me.
I could believe it.
And I was their now supervisor.
Did they help put you through school through the beginnings, through Ocean County? Obviously your work and your earnings did, but did they help out, didn't they?
Yeah, they do. They did tuition reimbursement. There was a tuition reimbursement program that helped for sure. It was a great company. They take training really serious. Before you even walk foot into a bank, you spend, at least then, you would spend at least 2 weeks. 3 weeks in a program off-site at a headquarters, like training.
The lesson I love about this, I have to say, is that age, time in, does not determine your position or the value that you could bring to a company.
No.
He's 18, and he gets the call up because of his effort, right? Because of his work ethic, his dedication to his own word, his ability to follow through, to say what you mean and mean what you say. Like, these are the lessons right here. This is major stuff that needs to be heard. It's unbelievable.
And then now talk about other transitions. If I'm not mistaken, when you went to, so you were at Ocean County College, got your base down, your associates, or led you towards that. When you went to Monmouth University, you started there, weren't you able to transfer to that branch as well?
Yeah, so I actually took purposely demoted myself from head teller to just a full-time,
teller position.
So that what I was doing at the time was I would work from 9 to 6, and then at 6 o'clock was the banking, and you'd roll the bank over. And it was kind of a process to it, to prove the bank and reconcile and roll it over. It had to be done at 6 o'clock. Classes started at 6:30. So my day every day was I worked 9 to 6. I rolled the bank over at like 6 o'clock on the dot. Like I was
efficient with it.
Efficiently, and I was on the road from Middletown, to Monmouth, and I would take class from 6:30 to 9:30. So Monday through Thursday it was work 9 to 6. 6:01 drive, and be in class by 6:30 in the beginning of the semester. I told all my professors I'll be late. I said I work a full-time job. I can't pay for the school. If I don't work, I'm going to be maybe 15 minutes late every day.
Communication.
I'm trying to tell you now. and not one of them had an issue with it. I was actually probably really ever that late, if any, but
give yourself a little buffer.
Yeah, just in case. And they were really cool about it. So
wait, but you still worked in Middletown at that point? Or was the branch off of 35?
That got to be too much. And then I scaled it back.
Because I remember meeting you in the parking lot after work in Long Branch.
And then I just...
we were going to...
well, then I started taking advantage of being at school a block away from the beach, and just wanted to work. And I knew my next steps were not going to be any more like long term with TD.
Right.
But just appreciate.
But just to get earn a little bit, keep yourself on track.
Yeah. So, and again, they've graciously helped me find a position close to where it was a great experience there. I've been so lucky throughout my career. So.
Far and in between, it's tough to find kids like him, like what you just heard, that to just start off this episode, that are willing to adjust, to do things like that, to show up, to just show up and work like that. You know what I mean? To even think it up, to think of what's possible, right? I think one thing that I'm learning and recognizing is we all share this in common, but for Matt G and his story right now and the humble beginnings is that nothing was out of the question for him because he knew inside he had the ability to work through it and literally put in the work and put in the time, and he wasn't afraid to do that. It's an amazing thing to hear. So those that are listening, even if you're not a kid right now in that position in your high school years, parents, right? And I'm listening to this. We're listening to this right now. Everyone this is beautiful perspective on that part of someone's journey.
Two other points I'll bring up because I talk to kids a lot about this today, but something to remember is that when you are going to school, you are investing. You're investing. Like, it's a service that you are being provided. Number one, so don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I encourage my young bucks of today to not feel like they're being owed something when you invest a lot of money into school. Like, you should get what you deserve and want as long as you're willing to step up for it. Like, don't not go to class or go to class not understand something and then expect to do good. But if you step up and you're like, hey, I need help, you should rightfully get help because you're paying for something. But what he's saying there, number one, is he's owning the fact that, listen, I'm paying for this and I got to do this the way that it works for me, number one. But number two, I'm willing to step up with respect and communicate, right? So communication is key, and say, listen, I'll be 15 minutes late, but I'll probably do the work 10 times over than everybody else anyway, because when I am here, I'm engaged. But just to give you respect is I'm going to be 15 minutes late, and here's the deal. But when I'm here, I'm here. And when I'm not here, I'm still knowing what's going on, and I can control everything. So it's a beautiful moment of just responsibility and leadership and ownership of oneself at a young age. So again, these are lessons that we're trying to, the reason why we do what we do is to now give these lessons to younger generations and be inspired by this. This could be done by anybody.
And I would say,
if
that professor did turn to him and say, okay, well, you're going to have to stay 50 minutes after, he would have been fine with it. And that's him going into that, having that conversation.
Exactly.
We were talking about it the other day, and I don't remember what the premise of it was, but it was college, and it was a conversation you and I were having about how you are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. So if you're going to buy a car, a house, or whatever, do you not demand, but do you know that this is you're investing in it? It's your freaking hard-earned money. You know what I mean?
Not to jump you, the professor we were talking about earlier, the more entrepreneurial one.
Right.
I met the way he started us meeting him was he wrote, it was like 18,000 and change. He wrote some number on the board, and when the class settled down and put their phones away, he said, "That's what this class cost you."
Wow.
He goes, "So you tell me." He goes, "Phone policy? What's the point?" He's like, this, that, homework? What's homework? He goes, "You have a grade. Your curriculum will tell you what you need to do to achieve it. You're all adults here. That's what you have to do to achieve it." He goes, "But I don't wipe that number off because that's what you're wasting, or you're
wasting
doing it."
So true.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons I walked up. I knew to tell a professor, I'm going to be late. I'm going to do this because that guy taught me. I realized that, and that was important for me to voice and everything. So.
And I love that because you respected your time first, and then theirs, and that should be a great lesson. Is you're respecting your time, but you're letting them know you respect them too.
Yeah.
But first, this is what I got to do, and I'm gonna talk to you.
Well, because the 6:30 to 9:30 class fit my schedule. It fit my needs. But guess what? If you're going to be late and the class is 6:30 to whatever, well then you have to choose a different time, sir. That I understand that to be the proper response. So it's I'm going to go there and ask. Is it all right, sir, if I can come in late, or because of this? So
and he, let's also go back to, he respected time, money, work, because he put that in. So your average college student isn't understanding all that before they go to college, and that's part of the issue. That's part of the issue of the thinking process. Not that the person has something; it's not their fault, right? But that's part of the problem a little bit, is that these kids are, and me likewise. I definitely had a little better understanding because I did work and I did understand a little. I knew it was going to fall into my lap at the end, but some kids go in and whether it's truly not falling in their lap at the end, paying that tuition,
Right.
or whether they just don't realize it yet.
Yeah.
And they just think it's all fun and games, and the professors aren't like that professor. They'll sit up there and they'll join along with the fun and games with you. They don't care.
Soak that time up.
And unfortunately, these kids never get the lesson. I'm not going to steal the juice, but in a little bit, the lesson that Matt gives us from one of his experiences is the lesson. When he says it, I'll let him say it. That's the lesson that everybody needs to hear. I wish everyone could hear that much sooner, but we'll wait for that.
Yeah,
it's going to tie into this.
Unbelievable. He accomplished so much at a young age. Just fulfillment, right? Just putting in work, putting in effort, and gaining these experiences. When we talked about his transfer with work with TD to Commerce, and he was going to Monmouth University, and he finished up his studies there, and you graduated from Monmouth University. And where did that, how did you finish up at Monmouth, and where did that take you?
I graduated with a bachelor's degree in marketing, and at the time, I wanted the city, anything in the city, anything related to New York. I wanted to work there. Didn't really have a specific care. I just wanted to be in the city. So through a relationship that I made, I got engaged my senior year, right before final. Right before final.
Damn, I always think young, but I forgot it was actually it was senior year.
And so after we got engaged,
of college,
while we were
Of college.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, not high school.
she had her but I would dog and house it to help pay for the wedding. That was what I did. And
We used to go and dog and house it with some nice houses.
Yeah, we had some nice
Hopefully
houses.
they're not listening. No.
So, I don't think so. But I did that as a bit of a hustle. And in that hustle, I made a relationship with someone who was relationships with the division president, G3 Apparel, which G3 Apparel is a company that makes major brands, Calvin Klein, DKNY. I don't want to start quoting brands because I don't know, but major brands. And I was given an opportunity to interview and obtain a position as a production coordinator in the Calvin Klein's women's sportswear division, so making women's clothes. My job was basically to take it from the designer's sketch pad and everything in between to get it hanging on a rack in Macy's.
Sick.
I reviewed trim, color, hand feel, quality control. I did purchase orders. All my communications were international with factories in China, Indonesia. It was all, learning international communications, how to speak concisely yet, remember that the other person does not, English isn't their first language, and you can't be too short and rude, but you've got to be, to the point. In that world too, it was really cool. I didn't expect to get into that. It was just a New York thing. I just wanted to work in New York.
Right.
And excuse me, but it was an amazing experience. The gentleman, Jonathan Elias, brought me in and he said, I see your resume, and after talking with you, your work ethic and effort is why you're here. He said, I can teach fashion to any, I believe I can teach fashion, textile business to anyone, but I can't teach what you've got. And I need to bring what you've got into the office so that, to simmer down the passion and bring the business in, I guess, to a degree. And he was right. I learned I really did. I couldn't believe I started taking an understanding to this. And it was really cool. I couldn't believe what went into what you're wearing today, and seeing an $80 shirt hang on a rack at Macy's, and knowing what the real the value and the timeline into that, and how these companies operate with purchasing and planning and forecasting. And if we're in the month of March, they're working on June, July, and August, guaranteed, and how that operates in their world, and what that means. So crazy. It was just again a really great experience to do that. It was really high paying. In that world, it's you make money when you're up there, but it was
hustle and bustle of the city too, though.
It was the hustle and bustle of the city. I argue we probably might have been losing money. I think then we did move up to Bloomfield. Yeah, I think we.
Oh, you're in Seacox.
Yeah,
you're in Seacox for a little rent, and then you.
So I had a shorter commute, and that was good and everything. But it was an experience. Absolutely. So
I remember, I'm obviously the experience, talking more on the experience of working at Calvin and doing all the work stuff. But during those times of when you were still hustling in there to also make money and do different things in the dog sitting, just as friends and being involved, like he would still. So this is how his worlds come together. How family, friends, social life oriented is because it's positive for him, and because he knows he just knows the people that support him are the people that are gonna be there all the times that he cares about the most. And he always found a way to tie all of us into not missing a night out, not missing doing something. But he always got what he had to get done.
Yeah.
So but we were all willing, just like he was willing for us to hustle around for him and do different things.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the one house you dog sat at, not to get into crazy detail, but they had I think 2 or 3 dogs, and they were a really nice family. And I think that you were open with them. You communicated with them. You said, listen, some of my friends are gonna come by before we go out.
They sent me instructions for the hot tub. They were real cool.
Yeah, they let us know. Like they had a sick yard.
They were cool. They stocked the
cabinets up. There was food. It was loaded, and there was like a bunch of us over there hanging out. And before the night, that's where we hung out. We pregame. We helped them take care of the animals, the dogs, and we went out to Seaside. And then at the end of the night, we made sure he was back there. He slept there. He took care of everything, and we went on our way.
We left Clecky behind. Clecky wasn't 21 at the time.
Yeah.
Clecky stepped in for me to stay there overnight. And I knew the dogs.
I didn't know what I was allowed to say.
Oh, wow.
It was we would use Clecky like that.
What a pick.
Yeah.
Clecky.
But just to watch that. So my point is with all that is just how he was always down for the hustle and bustle and the moving and maneuvering to make things work, and the balance. He always had the balance of work, of life, of family, of friends, and he always, you say you tried, but like you did it, like you put that effort in, and it was true. It wasn't just like saying, hey, I got to find balance. I'm going to do this and do that. Like there was intention behind it, and it included everyone, involved everyone, and that just shows through his professional growth in his career and ending up at EXP now and where he's at. It's a similar, as he spoke about early on in the episode, that's what they're about. And it just makes sense of where you are now in your career and in your life, right? In between getting to EXP, another step along the journey was when your next position was with Cushman & Wakefield, correct?
Yeah, that was where real estate started for me.
Right.
Like officially, was with Cushman. Again, through a relationship that I had, I contacted someone that I wanted to further my career. I'd been in the city for years, and have corporate experience now, but I wanted something firmer. And sent my resume, took a look. The bank always stood out to people.
Right, for sure.
The best thing that
stood out to me. So when I said
stood
it
out to
before,
everybody. So it helped get me into a commercial financial position that I really was not qualified for at the time. I was I was 23 years old. It was it was a tough interview process, which was a great experience. And I worked at 1290 Avenue Americas, the headquarters for Cushman & Wakefield. I was in the corporate office for 2 years, and I then took a promotion out of the corporate side of things to operations, and I became the revenue accountant for 3 years of the New Jersey market. So I had 3 offices with over 100 brokers, probably 30 or so admins that supported them. So about almost 150 people on a daily, weekly basis that I was the middleman between corporate finance and the frontline salesman. And I was, again, like production in Calvin Klein, even though it was women's clothes, I was everything in between. I took their sketch
in a different industry now.
And to that was getting them paid. They took a relationship and got it to paper with a tenant and a landlord and got signatures, and then I had an invoice and get them paid. So I took it from A to Z, and it was something I learned elsewhere, and I did it there. I didn't know real estate, but I knew that process, and I found the love for real estate in that. And it was that's my experience with Cushman & Wakefield was everything.
Right.
I learned so much. When you're around young hustlers, guys that just came out of college, that they see the bright lights and they want to do it, and you get to see their charisma every day and how they show up and how others don't show up. And then you get the guys in between, and you get the gentlemen that have been making $1 million a year for the last 25 years. That's consistently, that's longevity, that's wealth. And that was, I spent so much time around that, and from where I didn't expect to be in that kind of world.
Especially when you started with them.
And I was responsible for so much of what was important to these people, their money, and there was, I had a lot of opportunities in my 5 years at Cushman to, step up in different times, and it was, I learned everything. I learned everything in those 5 years, I really think, from relationship building, from just work ethic, effort. I saw different teams, how they operated and what the outcome was, and then now another team did it differently and what their outcome was, and how the solo agent went this way and did that. So I just got to sit there and sponge everything in
A lot of stuff that you, I mean, obviously they were more commercial, but it's still stuff similar that you see now.
Yeah. I mean, people
use?
are people. That was what I think I realized in there, was just people are people, and whether they're a C-suite executive or, you know, what some consider a small business owner in America, they all still have the same priorities, needs, wants, visions. So I chose, I guess I got to a point where I saw this, and I had always, wanted to do something. Towards the end of my experience there, my mindset was leaning towards getting a license and wanting to do this. I made some really great relationships with brokers that had advised me over the years. I should have gotten into it. They were advising me like along the way before each kid. It was funny. So I think by like one of them they just stopped. The second one they were just like, oh, well, you're done. But yeah, it was. I'm still friends with so many people that I worked with there, managers, and yeah, it was a truly amazing experience. Like I said, it was somewhere where I knew I really probably stepped into and didn't belong, but I knew where I was at, and I knew to learn and sponge and absorb, and whether that ride was going to last forever and I was going to ride this corporate train to the top in Cushman, or whether I was going to go on a different journey. I knew there was a lot of learning going on around there. So,
So your experiences there, obviously it was a lot. It was a lot of work, a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Not the balance that we talked about with EXP, and you have this growing family. You being a family person, I just know internally, you were in North Jersey, right? You live in North Jersey, and you and your wife and your family, there's a lot of people down here, right? At that time, what made Cushman come? It was obviously a positive ending. I don't think there was anything bad at Cushman.
No.
What made that come to a headway, and what are some things you experienced soon after that, before you got to EXP and where you're at now?
It was really not Cushman. It was definitely, I'll never forget, there was an accident on the turnpike, overturned tractor trailer, really badly damaged the overpass, and the whole thing was shut down, and I was stuck on a bus for 7.5 hours.
I remember this.
And it was just, this doesn't happen all the time. I was used to delays, but I just remember sitting there on that bus, waiting to get back to my kids in the middle of the week, tired from a long day, like probably eating fast food, unhealthy, just like looking around and just being like, I do 4 hours a day on the bus at that point. I was
now 11. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But I was commuting for like
11.
4 hours round trip a day.
I remember that day. I remember that day.
It just that whole moment just really, I think that was what put my mindset. I was out, and then it was a few months later that that I did make the move and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, it was time that really helped me see there what I wanted to do, and I understood a license could be a mechanism that would allow me to gain back that time.
Right.
So when I stepped away, I had some ideas. I actually took a position to kind of like hedge myself. I knew I would need to get the license. You got to go to school, take some time. So I took another very well-paying position outside of my comfort realm, not related to real estate. I chased a paycheck, short of it. And that was a big life lesson because...
Probably the first time you did that.
Yeah, because that was not a relationship. There was no bridge there. That was me. That was my own, right? So I'm used to getting people open doors for me, and I'm like, I open this door for myself. And it was the worst door I could have opened for myself. And not to speak on them, but it was just I shouldn't have opened that door.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't have. I was not doing the right thing. It was a good experience in that I learned a lot, but going through it was really challenging.
And we're going to have those experiences in life if some of us haven't already. And again, just to touch on, obviously for the sake, we're not on this show to bash anyone or call anyone out or do anything, but just to talk generally on the experience. Me being very close with Matt and us being very close with Matt, it was a time that we were connecting a lot because he was going into this position and he was doing things, whether you say ethically or whatever, or just him inside, it wasn't what he wanted to do.
Right.
And a lot going on the company and on him, and it was nothing illegal or wrong, but it just wasn't what he stood for.
Yeah.
And like he said, he was chasing a paycheck, and it was a door that he opened on his own. It wasn't from a firm relationship, and from those firm relationships come from the hard work and effort he puts in. And this is when the first time it didn't happen that way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hit it on the nail. And but it's it's one of those moments that I couldn't be where I'm at now if that didn't happen, if I didn't go through that experience. And I still I had another experience similar to that, even in that journey again. So you would think one would be you learned that lesson. There was even another version of it along the way too. And in that moment though, because of what I'd experienced previously, I reacted faster, and I knew it differently.
Right.
And after that moment was probably when my whole life conviction changed of real confidence and self-awareness And I've been preaching that for a while and thinking I was good at it, but it was that moment after 2 failures of a similar light, like
within the same within that company,
within the same similar time frame.
Right.
Similar time frame.
So the first one was more of an ethical thing within this company you're working for, which it is what it is, right? That's what it was. There's that out in the world, right? There's some people stand for certain things, and some people ethically, the companies, they do things a different way, and that's how they choose to operate, whether it's successful for them or not. The second one was what we talked to pre-show, which I really want everyone to hear because this is a beautiful experience, and it is something where it's a relationship, a friendship of our buddy Corey Lavin, who is just the best at doing that and looking out for people and connecting people and giving people opportunity.
The quarterback.
He's the quarterback, right?
Yes, through.
So tell us a little bit about that. We really want them to hear about that.
Yeah, this is the story that I was talking about earlier. This lesson.
So after that experience, I had reached out to you and and my friends and connected me with Corey. And I had, me and Corey had talked, and we had the idea I'll work to get my real estate license. And he was in a really successful career with Cintas, and he explained to me the business and what they do and the positions available. And we identified one that was seemed like the perfect job. I was able to get the real estate license. It was salary plus commissions. Like hybrid, like not in the office all the time. It was like a dream set.
And it probably was because he knows you, and he truly believed in you.
Yeah, and what he was bringing me was something that I really needed, and this was perfect. And he did believe, right? And I had a lot of a vote of confidence from you guys, being that doesn't hurt with him. So
it just trickles down the line.
Exactly. So I was revved up for this. This was everything. This was going to be the plan in motion. And I started going through the interview process. First 2 interviews went really well. Was learning a lot about the company and the position, and I started masterminding. I was figuring out how I was going to do this, and I was really creating a plan. And I had one more interview to get through, and I kind of did think it was no interviews are easy, but I thought this was going to be more just a formality, a final one, because the other 2 had gone so well, and the second one thing was supposed to be more challenging and went really well. And I sat down, did my thing. And he saw right through me. And I've never been seen through before like that in my life. I'm very self-aware, but he just, he sat across from me and he looked at me after we're, going back and forth a bit. And, he made it really clear that, I wasn't going to get the position because he said, you look good, you sound good, but what have you done? Where's your brag sheet? And what he was referring to was he was a heavily athlete. He was into team guys, athletes with records and rings and things and accomplishments. Right. And
through leadership.
And and I didn't have those collectively. And then as far as sales, I thought it was to me it was an entry level sales position. He did not take it as that, and I love this in hindsight. I know on paper this is an entry-level position, but on my team there's no entry-level position, was the way it was explained. And I loved that. And his point to that was that, you've done nothing. And he kept saying it just like that, that I see your corporate experience, and I understand you managed an $80 million real estate annual operating plan and all these different fun factoids and things, but what have you done? Where's your brag sheet? And I had nothing back, and I'm usually good with that, and I just had nothing to say. Nothing of substance. And so he told me, he said, listen, go sell pieces of paper for 6 months and tell me how much you sold in 6 months, and then the look and the sound will have something to stand next to, and you'll probably get the job, sir. So, it wasn't that he closed the door, but he, more like, mentally, he slammed that door on me. I was exposed, and that did not feel good. I was in, the most difficult time in my life, and he really ripped the Band-Aid off. Right. And but what did I do? I went and I got my real estate license, and I faced more trouble. When I first started the first brokerage, it was a slow start. It was I was wasting a ton of time. I was again thinking I'm as self-aware, but not as aware as I needed to be. And it really wasn't until honestly just the time that I connected and transferred to EXP that the business started to grow, and I started closing sales. And after I spoke to him in March, spring of that year. The following year, I sold $5.5 million in sales in real estate. And I just remember, and that's not a gaudy number.
No, not at all. Yeah.
There are people, men, women, agents out here that do fantastic work, amazing numbers. But for a guy that less than 12 months before that was told, you've never sold anything, you've got nothing, you've done nothing. that meant a lot just to be able to sell one. Just even that first home, it was a tough sale. Just to say I sold something in my life. I actually thought that it was so hard on that first one that I was going to go to him and just say, oh, I sold a home. It was I sold $500,000 for one home. Pretty good. Can I get the job now? That's what I thought I was going to do.
Well, in reality, is like you accepted what he said, and then you went and took action too. And again, just like your whole entire journey, a large percentage of people won't respond in that way with their work to follow up. And it's interesting because in our last podcast we were talking about we were doing some storytelling, right? We're going to mix in some episodes of us telling stories, just to bring more perspective. And we were talking about our team and how people entered our team and the hiring process overall. And it's something this day and age, or today, we have one coach that we just hired, Coach Anthony's going to be joining the team, and we have a couple other people that are interested in coming on the team. And it's a constant conversation we have. Is it's not about, for us, it's not necessarily, well, it is. It's about what have you done to fit this role. For us, it's like what have you done that proves that Relentless needs you more than you need Relentless. You know what I mean? So in that case, what have you done that Cintas needs you more than you need Cintas? You know what I mean? And it proves true to the system that we've created. When we talked about what our CIT, our coach and training process, it's like it goes hand in hand. It
was a huge lesson. Yeah. It was the pivot for everything. I
want to add something real quick though, because there's so many things I can go into. Because he just said that was the pivot, right? So, but it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be the pivot. Who he is, he made it the pivot, number one. Number two, it's a great moment for everybody to step back and assess your own lives every day, because every day has moments for us to pivot. It's decisions, right? That guy was really just the blessing that spoke to your true inner, true conscious self. And he was willing to accept it and be honest and real with himself to say, this guy's right. And I'm going to go out and not just prove it to him, because maybe I call that cheap motivation. If we've ever talked about that, you can look back, we've spoken on that. But in the beginning, the cheap motivation was to go prove him wrong, right? I get it. But the reality was, it was really to prove the truth to himself. Yeah. And once he did that, do we want to go back maybe and call that guy and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm good, but I just sold, in the past 3 years, I sold $50 million of homes. Do you get off on that? Sometimes, yeah, of course, because we're competitors. We like to compete. But the real thing is just for him to look at himself and be like, yo, I did it. I bring value now. I put my head down, I worked on it, and I did it. And I think so many great lessons here is, Paul and I pride ourselves in being that guy for everybody and knowing how to deliver the message to everybody, right? But it's trying to be the honest, truthful human that when the student presents itself, the teacher will appear, right? That's the thing that we try to get better on nowadays, is we don't go out of our way. But when someone is presented in front of us and they're looking to truly acknowledge where they are today, and then also take the time to paint the picture of where they want to go, and sit down and just be I want some help. I'm willing to give everything I got, but I need some help. That's where we love to step in and use stories and experiences and our relationships that we have to tie this all together. But that is a huge epidemic in the world right now of the young generations coming up, is that they think they have done way more than they really have, And I think that's one of the messages we really like to get out. And because the reality is that is the truth, no matter the time you've put in and the work you've put in, it's what you do in private shines in public, right? But nobody's willing to you do all this work, but then you want this to happen right away. It doesn't really happen like that. You have to play the game for a little bit before people start actually believing in you. So the secret really is to believe in yourself first. Definitely. And then let everybody else, when they believe it and figure it out, that just happens, But that pivot moment is so crucial and beneficial to everyone in the world. And the goal, I believe, for the whole brand of Relentless is to help that moment go off sooner, and then also have everything else there needed after to help people figure it out sooner. So to have solutions, to have processes, techniques, people in line, that when you do present and say, all right, I need to go to that next place, that we can step in and help to help bring you to that position. So
it's so cool to see too, because this is going to be a question, but how much do you see that all translating to how you operate your team now and what you do now?
I literally currently, I just had an agent who's left her full-time position and is going full-time in real estate, and is in that like really anxious period of that.
Right.
And it was awesome to be able to connect with her and explain, you know, what I remembered and what I went through and the little, like the functions of just what it actually takes. It's an email to your broker. Like just these different things.
Things
like,
that seem so simple, but to them they're like, oh my God. And
right.
when it
and
happens,
I know they'd never ask this question.
Right.
They don't know how to ask the question.
Yeah.
Like I say a lot, like people don't know. They don't know, like people don't know what they know. So like it's just like you know, if I know this, then I want to bring it. And I had that opportunity with this, so that's you know, that's really rewarding. You know, like it's really rewarding.
I think as competitors, the one thing that we could all say that we are is competitors. And I think when you are a competitor, which we all have competition inside of us, but it's like when we don't know, we want to know. Like if you know us by any degree, like we're question askers, we're researchers, like. I can like ask a random question, and like 2 seconds later, Paul's already Googled it as the answer, and I'm like, yo, you heard me? He's like, yeah, that's the answer. And I'm like, but that's the type of people we are. Like, if I have a connection and Paul has a question, like he'll say it, and I'll go out of my like get the answer because we're all just competing in life, like we all like to say. It's like, how can we feed off of each other's energies and experiences and knowledge to help benefit each other? Like, why wouldn't you want that? You know, that's what life's. It's glorious.
Funny. We all, like our friends, all of us, like all the guys, like everyone. We all share a sense of like a version of like curiosity. Like you're saying, like we want to problem solve. We address things. We have amongst our group. I mean, we got Alex, business owner. You know, everybody.
Clucky's starting to get into.
Everybody that does their own thing, and not a lot of us all do the same thing. So clearly, all see and do things very differently. But we all have that commonality. How we all approach things at that certain point. It's a similar theme amongst all.
I look at it this way too. I was talking to Mike on the phone the other day to Clucky a little bit. He just opened up a Pro Turf Solutions, so lawn care, and we were having a conversation.
He'll get you green.
You're not allowed on the show yet, though. We were having a great conversation, and I was reflecting on how like he mentioned something like, oh, you guys, like I like talking to you because you've been doing this for 10 years or so or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like I respect that. I'm gonna give you all that. But I also love talking to. I've also loved talking to all you guys for the last 10 years 100%. Because you know how much perspective I pulled out of Matt's experience at Cushman before this episode. Right. Mike's experience at Matitaconk and Cherry Valley and Marquette Porter. Like I just pull and that we say it all the time, right? Our clients and our group that surrounds us, who we surround us with, is our oxygen, right? Absolutely. So you could choose to put that mask on and accept that oxygen and take it all in, or you could breathe the other shit that's out there, you know. Right. And I think that's the commonality of it all. Obviously, with all that is just the effort and work ethic to want to take all that in. Yeah. You know, which we between the three of us, we have that. Between everyone that's listening, you're doing something like that right now. You're putting your headphones in. Yeah. You're playing this. You're putting the timing. You're taking great perspective from us. This is one of my. I'm going to say before we get off the recording, but this is one of my favorite episodes so far. Yeah. This is really good for the time that we're in now. Yeah. We see kids, young adults, and people at any point in their life that come to us, and sometimes it takes so long for people to learn these lessons. Yeah. Like when you said they don't know what they don't know, but it could really just take a person like one of us three in front of them to recognize it and give them that perspective, and there goes 10 years of their life trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
And how many problems avoided.
Yeah. And I'll also add the gratefulness so what Paul just said, the other side of us being grateful now of seeing people not be afraid now to run more into like passion projects, like they're calling it. Let's say about diving into passion, right? Yeah. But
like they're calling
it these days. But the glory too for us, because we have these conversations with everybody, is like now our buddy Mike or Alex Morgans is starting these businesses from scratch. We've been in the game for 10 years, and sometimes we just are in the game, right? So when we go back and have these conversations, it's actually really good for us because it's what we say all the time. It's like going back and checking the foundation now. Yeah. So as we help and hear the stories at the beginning, we're like, yo, we should go back and do this, and this. Like, or yo,
we missed that. We forgot to do that.
Remember this? Or or yo, we used to do this and we should again because it was. So it's really cool actually because it's a circle. It's like a never-ending circle of growth, evolution, adaptation, problem solving, and just learning from sharing experiences and stories.
Things we're all passionate about.
Like now, I'm at a point like I would need to, like, if I had a purposeful reason for us to like reconnect and talk about stuff, it would be the coaching because I have agents in my downline and I'm responsible. And I work with these agents. Like, now all of a sudden, what you've been experiencing for the past 10 years in creating leaders, and, right? Leaders creating leaders, like I have to care about that.
Yep.
Like, you know, I went back and started the podcast, right?
Yeah,
Because I knew I needed what you had.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, I saw it coming. So,
100%.
like you said, where they're maybe just starting and you look back, there will be a time where we're all supposed to step in for each other in you know, different parts.
For sure,
The
man.
secret, I would say, to where we are now, which we understand, and we're working at this more than ever, is just to be the example. Not that we are where we want to be just yet, but we know that, and we are it, and you're doing the same thing. So, number one is just to work so hard to be the example of what you desire to see out in the world. And if you become that and you carry yourself that way, it trickles down the pipe. And then you have all the other stuff that comes up. We can have fun with that, but
For sure.
don't stop doing anything you're doing because you're doing it.
Nah, man, definitely don't stop. Thank you for all the perspective, Matt, leading us, you know, all the way through your entire journey from, you know, working at a young age of your, you know, freshman, sophomore year of high school. For those that are listening, again, take this positive perspective. You could bring it to your kids if you are a kid, if you are in this time of your life yourself. If you know, are in high school, going into college, take all this in. Take this perspective in a good way. We're just looking to build and grow every individual that's listening. If there is anyone that you could envision being able to share this with, that'll help them in just any single moment from any situation and perspective that we gave you today, please share away. Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and obviously for those that are watching on YouTube, share that YouTube link up. Thanks again to everyone for joining us. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. Appreciate it. It's my first time ever being I think recorded, audio of it. So this was this was different for me. Michelangelo's thing for me this year was to get started with things that make you discomfort, step out of your comfort zone. So this was a big check off the box.
We might have to pull him on here too. He's good energy, Michelangelo. He's good energy. So maybe we'll do a duel, all four of us. Obviously, you know, you'll hear from us again next week. Keep listening. We're season 3, the Relentless Way podcast, episode number 11. What's the title here? Effort is everything. Go crush your day. Go get it. Attack.
Let's get it, baby. Keep doing it.